G'day and welcome back to my round 4 game of the February 2022 Flying Swiss Tournament game. So I'm playing against iippabella and we've just completed 2 cycles and I am currently ahead by 16 stars. It's 44 stars to 28. Let's start off by having a look at the events. We've got 6 events from the last turn. I completed banking, so that's good. Combat at Isar. I took out 22 ships, lost 30, but I recaptured 1 industry, so that's really nice. Combat at Theman. I took out the star, no losses either side, but I took the star, not worth much, but at least it's something. Combat at Septon. So I took out 4 ships, lost 5. That's the best ratio I could have hoped for. Any more than that and I'd have lost 10, so I got there just in time. Combat at Azhar. I was a little worried when I first sent the fleet that iippabella might build some industry there, but it turns out that they didn't and I got the star with no losses, and it's a nice star too. And then finally I got 1,005 credits from the cycle. This star actually has 40 natural resources, so it's quite a valuable star. Next, let's have a look at the stats comparing the two of us. So, as I said, I'm 16 stars ahead, 6 carriers ahead, but carriers doesn't tell us much. I'm about 58 ships ahead, and producing about a ship and a half more per cycle. I've got a science lead of 6, an industry lead of 5, and an economy lead of 16, and no technology lead at the moment. So I'm quite happy with that. It's looking quite positive for me, but we'll have to see how the game plays out. Let's move on to research first up. No, let's start with infrastructure. So, as I said last cycle, I generally try to spend a quarter of my credits on science, a quarter on industry, and leave the remaining half for carriers, warp gates, and economy at the end of the cycle. So a quarter of this is 252 credits. So if we buy some, I think it's fine to just purchase a bulk upgrade. Why is that? Well, the only stars I might be potentially giving infrastructure to iippabella on are Gakru, Azhar, and Septon. The rest I feel confident I can defend against any potential attacks. But considering that Septon already has some infrastructure on it, and Gakru is within my territory, I can easily retake it, and there are so many stars in my territory with no infrastructure that are better than Azhar. I can buy bulk infrastructure and potentially not put anything on Azhar that I might lose. So let's have a look at that. And I purchased 7 points of science, none of which are on Azhar. So now I can have a look at my research. Scanning in 2 hours. What do I want after that? Well, let's have a look. I don't need another level of hyperspace range at the moment. There's nothing really I'd use it for. Scanning. I think 1 level is enough for now. If I got 2 levels, I could see these stars, and that would be very nice for me, but at the moment, I think I'd rather go for terraforming, banking, or manufacturing instead. Terraforming will take 12 hours to complete, so I could get that done before this cycle's economy spend, and that would work well. And manufacturing will also take 12 hours because it has only 2 less research points it needs. And finally, banking is down to 5 hours. So I think what I'll do is I'll go scanning, followed by terraforming, and then banking to round out the cycle, and I'll be happy with that. I haven't spent any cash on industry infrastructure. So what I'll do is I'll spend a third of my remaining cash on industry. So that's 260 credits on industry. And once again, the amount on Azhar will be minimal. Unfortunately, one industry there, but I'm okay with that. So let's move on to now my fleets. What do I want to do with them? We can see that we've got 41 ships coming into Septon. I'm definitely going to lose that battle, so I'm going to want to leave some ships there and retreat some others. The optimal number is 13, so what I'll do is I'll put one more ship onto Alcura so that I can leave the optimal number. And this carrier I'll send to Cajun. That way I can drop off one ship at Cajun and then retreat the carrier back to my fortified stars to pick up more ships to attack. And my carrier here, Finn number 2, I'll just send it back to Yilden. Or maybe what I'll do is I'll send it to Furcad so I can start picking up ships and bringing them towards the front line. Looking over at the right side, I don't have any carriers that I particularly want to do anything with. iippabella has one carrier travelling between Themen and Proxima, so I don't think it's quite worth me taking my carrier over right now, just in case it lands in something at Proxima that I don't want to hit. So what I'll do is I'll bring the carrier back to Gakru where it might actually be useful to do something. This carrier here at Korn, I think I'll get to Zorak before iippabella's carrier does. I don't exactly remember where it is, but if we use my carrier as a guideline, that's 9 hours away, so I'll assume that iippabella's carrier is 9 hours away from Zorak. And if I'm lucky, iippabella will go straight to Zorak from Proxima, and that will mean that it will hit my carrier, die, and I'll be able to retake both of these stars with no problem. Looking over this side, I don't want to run into the same problem, so I'll just leave my carrier there. Although, if I had counted out where iippabella's carrier is, I could potentially work out exactly where it would be and if it would be safe to take Macbruder, but I will just stick with Edasik for now. What other carriers do I have? Just this one here looks like it could do with some more orders. I'll send it back to Fuaris to pick up the ships that will have been building there. I've also got this carrier here, Alcura II. What I'll do is I'll leave the carrier here for now because I don't know where iippabella is going to send these 41 ships after they take Septon. Given iippabella's track record so far, I wouldn't be surprised if they go for an attack on Azhar or somewhere else, so I want to be ready just in case that happens. My carrier, 1 hour to Izar. I think I'll bring it back to Wasat because I've got enough. I'll definitely take Akubens. I will leave some ships on Izar though. That will take 5 hours to get there, so that's one ship produced in that time. I'll want to leave 5 ships there just so I can take on this in case iippabella builds a fleet there and attacks. So this, what I'll do is I'll garrison star with 2 ships. No, because I'll build 1 ship, I want to garrison it with 4 ships. And actually, I might send it to Gakru because I don't actually know if that will produce enough ships to defend against Akubens. Well, in that time it will build 2 ships, that won't be enough. So what I'll need to do is drop all but 3 ships. the carrier and 2 ships, and that way it'll land on Gakru, and it will defend that star with the 2 that's built there from any attack from Acubens, because they have the same ETA to that star. I've got my carrier here at Sheleb. It can pick up and drop off at Elniat, and because that's a very nice 6 hours, I'll get it to stick at Sheleb for a bit longer, so it can drop off at Elniat on the turn, rather than be halfway between the stars on each turn. This fleet can continue on to Yum just in case iippabella tries to escape that way. I don't want to leave it as a vulnerable location. I've got 65 carriers here. Once again, I'll leave them for a bit to see what iippabella decides to do. I might end up attacking Septon next turn, but for now I'm happy to leave them there. And finally, one more carrier, 60 ships. I'll leave them here for now, but then I might move them next turn. Onto carrier stars, onto ships and stars that is. 84 ships there, but I want to leave them for defense. Got 49 ships there. These ones can move towards the right because the last fleet went towards the left. I can also afford, I've got 78 economy, so I can afford to build a second carrier this turn. I think at this stage I'll build a carrier taking ships from Tax and dropping them on Rastaban, and doing that regularly, so I've got those ships moving towards the front now. And I've already looked at research. I've decided I'm going to do scanning, then terraforming, then finish up with banking this turn, this cycle. Which brings us to the end of this turn, and on to the next turn. We're now at tick 54. We've got 5 events it looks like, so let's have a look at those. Combat at Septon. So as expected, I lost the star. Lost 13 ships, took out 20, so that's a good number there. Good ratio of kills to deaths. I completed scanning, so now I've got a whole bunch more radar. I can now see a lot more of what's going on, and I'm very happy with the status of everything. Combat at Acubens. I took out this star, and wow, okay, I just saw what happened at Wasat, but we'll get to that. Okay, so yeah, combat at Acubens. I took out the star, and we've got 10 losses, so that's only an overall loss of 2 ships, but the industry there will make up for that. Combat at Wasat. From iippabella's 100 ships, well, more than 100 ships, 125 coming in and going there. Combat at Kajum. I captured the star, and I'm happy with that. Okay, so I saw these 100 ships and I was like, how did they get there? Then I saw the warp gate, then I saw the other warp gate. Well, it seems that iippabella is using the warp gates to great effect, but that would have cost a lot. 64 total resources. Is there an equivalent star? 60. So it would have cost about 150 credits for iippabella to buy there. And in fact, this is probably the same. 156. So definitely in the realm of doable, but not something I'd have expected this early. So that's a very fair play by iippabella. And yeah, wow, okay, you took me by surprise there. Let's have a look at the star count and the other statistics. So I'm currently 18 stars ahead. Looking good on total ships and new ships, economy, industry and science, well ahead in all of those. I finished scanning, so need to check my research. terraforming is still the one I want next, and that will complete in over a turn, so I don't need to adjust my next tech just yet. We can see that here we've got iippabella trying to come in, so that would be 3 hours to get to Zorak. So if I wait 3 hours and then come down to Proxima, I may be able to get both of them. But that's a risk, and it might not come to that. And over on this side, I can get to Mechbuda first, and I can also buy an industry here to protect that from any launches from that carrier. So I like my position on the flanks, what I've got there. Okay, we also see that iippabella's launched 73 ships towards Hassela. That's not going to be a problem. That would be, I can take that out easy. So that would require 15 rounds of defense, which means they get 14 rounds of attack. So that's 56 ships I need here to defend. I've got 66 coming in, so these 68 can all head to Septon, and I don't have to worry about that at all. I've also got 20 ships incoming at me at Azhar. They'll come in 2 ticks, so what I'll do is I'll get the carrier to go there for 1 tick, and then come back and collect ships at the home star for the after that. But I don't want to collect all the ships there. What I want to do is I want to garrison the start with 5 ships, because that's a good number. It's 4 times 1 plus 1. So that would end up killing 10 of these attacking ships, only losing 5, which is a pretty good ratio, 2 kills for every loss. With these 100 ships, I don't want to do much with this, because I don't know where he'll be going, where this fleet will be going, so I'll just end up hopefully taking out as many of these as I can from just chasing over stars, and I'll just have to retake the stars after iippabella goes through. Okay, these 147 ships, they're probably not necessary. Actually, yeah, we've got the exact same text, so iippabella can see as much as, well, can't see back there, but definitely can jump. So it might be interesting if I were to jump this way, but what I think would be better for me would be to try to jump this way. But before I do that, I want to see how many ships I've got left over. Well, how well I can defend that. That would take 11 hours to get there. This carrier would take 14 hours. So these 52 ships will definitely arrive in time to defend that star. Next question. Well, are these 147 ships enough to take on this carrier? Well, 147, that will get killed in 30 rounds of defense, so I'll get 29 rounds of attack. That's 116 ships killed, so yes, that's enough to take on this fleet, especially since it will have some losses at stars such as Al Niyat and possibly even Cheleb. These 6 ships, they're not doing much there, so what I'll do is I'll get them to go to Wasat, where they'll meet up with a fleet from Izar, because now I know that iippabella's into the warp gate game. I don't want to leave any warp gates around that can potentially be exploited to take backdoors. So I'm going to destroy the gate at Canopus. I want to take Wasat and destroy that gate, so that if iippabella wants to continue to use gates, they have to rebuild them. At Zorak, I don't feel the need to destroy that just yet, because there's no ships that can head to Zorak and actually use that fleet, that warp gate, to attack me, so that's fine there. let's have a look. I've still got fleets that can do with orders. What I'll do is I'll transfer one ship there and then move the carrier back to safety where it can be used for other things. And I've also got a carrier here at Yum. I'll start a garrison at Acubens, and then the carrier can head to the back line to pick up some of those ships back there. This carrier, after going to Mira, can go to Regulus, and then I'll have the entirety of that area of stars. I'll have the entirety of that constellation of stars under my control. These 49 ships, well, they can head straight down to the front line. I see no reason for them to dawdle. And there's no need for me to build a carrier at Alcura this turn, because I've got one coming in just now. Do I want to send it to the left or to the right? I think I'll send it to the right, because at this stage, the left seems quite under control, while the right looks like it will need some support, especially with the 100 ships here wreaking havoc. These 66 ships, they'll be coming in through here and will be trying to defend against the 73. As I said before, we've got 73 divided by 5 will be 15. These 66 ships will be coming in and defending against the 73. As I said before, that's 15 rounds of defense to take on the 73. So 14 rounds of attack, that's 57 ships I need to defend. This fleet will be getting in 5 hours after this fleet, so I'll get 4 hours of production, so that's one ship. So I need to garrison the star with 56 ships, and then the rest can continue moving onwards. So let's do that now. Garrison star with 56 ships. That's all my carriers given orders. So let's have a look, see if there's any stars that can especially use more carriers. So Alcura is taken care of. Alniat, I don't want to build a carrier there because it wouldn't help me at all. I do have ships at Furcad that are currently useless, so what I'll do is I'll build a carrier here, moving the ships forwards to Mizar, ready to move on to Azhar to retake the star, or support Septen or Hassela, depending on the needs. And I'll also start a loop from Xora. This one can go to Yilden and back again. I don't think I've got any other stars I want to build loops from, so that's all I've got for this turn, and I'll move on to the next. We're now at tick 60, halfway through the cycle, and we've got 7 events, so let's have a look at those to start off with. Combat at Alniat, so as expected, we've got the 100 ships heading through Alniat and then moving on. We've also got combat at Azhar. Once again, I lost the star, but I took out double the number of ships that I lost, so it wasn't all bad. Combat at Zorak, I took out the carrier and I launched on, but we can see that Proxima now has an industry, so what I'll have to do is build an industry at Zorak so Proxima can't counterattack Zorak and take the star away from me. The remaining events, combat at Wasat. Unfortunately, I had a really poor ratio there, 5 losses to 1 kill, but at least I only lost 4 more, and I guess losses ended up being even when we saw the next combat at that star a tick later. And then, silly me, I sent in the extra fleet there, knowing that knowing that I'd take the star, but I should have also known that iippabella would have been able to reinforce it, so I left it quite undefended and in a way that it, yeah, words escape me. Combat at Septon, I managed to capture it handily, and I've got plenty of ships left over to move to Azhar, and then move on to Gyanfar and start making progress in this area. We've got 3 more ships coming in this way. What I'll do is I'll also build an industry here. I know it's halfway through the cycle, but I want to start building up ships on these stars as fast as possible, so that I can make it as difficult as possible for iippabella to retake those stars. This carrier here, since I've built the industry there, it can head back behind to pick up more stars from behind, because it isn't any use on the front there where it can't launch any attacks. Okay, so we've got these 55 coming in there. What I'll do is I'll tell this carrier to go there once, garrison the star with 9 ships, and move on to Rasselas. So 9 ships, because that's 2 times 4 plus 1, so that'll get me the best, the most kills I can without losing any ships. And in fact, what I'll do is I'll send the carrier onto Alrisha, because that way I can make that one also painful to conquer, whereas if I take it to Rasselas, that won't make any difference there. These 63 ships, as I mentioned before, they can move to Azhar and start preparing to move into that constellation of stars. This carrier is going to die, so I'll just give it some dummy orders so it gets out of the list. These 3 ships that it's about to pick up, they can move southwards towards the opponent and start to reinforce those stars. And these 75 ships can move down here, protect these stars, and I think at some stage I will want scanning. That would take 7 hours, so I could easily do that, terraforming then scanning. Alternatively, I could go manufacturing, but that would be a full 12 hours. I think I will go scanning next, because I feel very nervous about these 3 stars, and scanning will mean I can have peace of mind. I don't need to worry about them anymore. These 21 ships, they can keep coming down here. By the time there's a counterattack up here, that would be 9 hours. There's one industry there, so 2 ships will have been produced. I want to garrison the star with 8 ships. That way I can, if I garrison it with 8 ships, then I know that these 11 ships will not be able to retake that star. This carrier here can just sit. I am really going to have to work to reconquer this area, because iippabella has some nice momentum there. This carrier, I don't know why I sent it to Furcad because there's 13 ships there, but I guess there aren't any more, so that wasn't a smart place to send it. I'll send it to Yilden next, so it can start picking up ships from there and moving them forwards. My carrier here, I don't actually think there's any purpose for it to head down this way. At this stage, it would be better to just be a shunting carrier almost, just moving ships around these stars to the choke points of Hasselah, and once I capture it, Azhar as well. We've got these 3 ships heading down to Mizar. I think what I'll do is I'll tell it to drop, and keep going to Yilden. That way I can quickly get some more ships towards the front line. And this courier, once it gets to main Kent, can go to Minchir, and then I'll have this back constellation captured as well, ready to move forwards. And these ships, I'll just sit them for now. I do have these 147 coming in as reinforcements, so I'll be able to do some damage control with those, and I do want to be aware of any potential attack coming in here that I don't have any defense for. Looking at the ship counts on stars, those 56 ships are going to be used to defend that star. We've got 28 there. No carriers coming for the next little while, so I will build a carrier there now and move the ships down towards the front line. We've got 24 on the home star. I don't think it's quite worth building a carrier there, but I definitely will build one next turn. 20 ships there, they're there for defense, I will leave them. 15 ships, those will be used for defense, they can stay. 12 ships, I think at this stage I've got all the stars that matter, except maybe what I could do is build an extra carrier here to conquer Al-Nasi and Til. So yes, I will do that. If it was just Al-Nasi it wouldn't be worth it, but because there's Til as well, I'll go up and do it. And that's all I want to do this turn. I've only got 300 credits left, so I'm running a little short. They can all go into economy for next turn. And hopefully that will keep building up my economy to a point where I can keep building up industry and science. We've now reached tick 66 of the game, so that's one turn before the new cycle. Got 7 events, also got a number of events happening around the place, so let's have a look at those. Completed terraforming, combat here. As expected, I lost the ship. Combat at Cheleb, I lost the star, but he didn't leave very many ships there, so I should be able to retake that without issue. Combat at Izar, not much painful there, well, not many losses there, and we can see that iippabella destroyed the warp gate themselves, so I don't need to recapture it to destroy it, so that's a little blessing for me. 3 more events. Combat at Hassler, exactly 1 ship left over, so correct calculation on my part. Combat at Theman, lost the star. Combat at Alniat. So it looks like that iippabella is making quite a strong comeback, especially on the right hand side of the map. It's not going to be too much of an issue, I think, because I do have 100 ships over there that can start to do damage control, and I've also got sufficient control of the left hand side that iippabella's lead on the right won't be able to take that away. So we've got 112 ships coming in here. That will take 23 rounds of defense to kill, so I need to defend against 22 rounds of attack. That's 89 ships here. So this will actually be a close one. That fleet is coming in 8 hours. This one's coming in 9 hours. I said I needed 89 ships there. 89 ships, 8 ticks of production, so that's 88 ships I need. Plus 58, so that's 30. Plus 28, that's 2. So I'm still 2 ships behind if I leave it at that. So I'm going to need to bring in ships from Canopus. If I send this carrier to Aldebaran and then back to Hassler, that's too late. So I'll sit it on Canopus and bring it into Hassler just in time to defend it. Chances are I'll also need more ships because there are 47 here. They could make a difference there, so I will bring in the extra 14 stars, well, the 14 ships. These can come up to here, but actually I don't need to go just yet. That fleet will take 12 hours to go there, so I'll have 6 hours reaction time. If iippabella does attack from Bede, then I can bring in Septon and defend. I'm going to take Azar handily, not any problem, so this fleet can move on to Gianfar. These 21 ships, I'll just get them to stay there for now, and 6 hour waypoint time, no need to worry about it. On the right hand side here, I've got 118 ships that need orders. What I'll do is I'll split them between the two locations so I can slowly take back control. Yep. So 118 divided by 2 is 59. But what I'll do is I'll split it up into 61 and 57. The 61 I'm going to send down this way, and the reason I made it 61 not 59 is because 61 is a multiple of 5 plus 1, so that's better for defense. Well, that'll mean that fleet will last as long as it possibly can. The other 57 ships can head up to Chaleb and then across to Rasselas next turn, but I'll be able to order that when I get there. Carrier here at Tax, that has no ships to pick up, so it can come back to Burden. I believe I've ordered all the carriers in important places, so what I'll do is I'll quickly speed through ordering carriers, ordering the rest of these carriers. If there's one that I think is significant, then I'll pause and describe it for you. But I do quickly want to point out this carrier here on Menkalinan. I've got 83 ships incoming. If iippabella decides to attack down the center, I've got the 83 ships plus 16 plus more, so I think I'll be fine. So those ships can come over to Elniat and start to help in the cleanup process. So as I said, I'll speed through the rest of the carriers and bring you back once I'm done. So that's all my carriers done. After carriers, I move on to ships. We've got 73 ships at Alkura. That's plenty enough for a carrier to take them to the front lines. Once again, I think I'll send these towards the right because the left seems pretty under control. After ships, let's have a look at the statistics, which I forgot to do at the start of the turn. I'm ahead in terraforming, which is possibly due to my science. I wouldn't be surprised if iippabella catches up in terraforming at the end of the cycle. But I've got a lead in stars, carriers, ships, and new ships, so I'm still ahead, but that lead has significantly diminished since last turn, especially with all the raiding that iippabella has been doing. Finally, research. I will have scanning and 4 ticks, and then I need to choose which research to go for next. I'll go back to manufacturing. I want to increase my ship production, and terraforming is slightly more expensive. At some point I do want to work out an exact calculation. Do I go for terraforming or manufacturing based on industry and star count? But that will have to come another time. Finally, I've got to buy economy. Most of my economy will be bought on safe stars behind my front lines, so I should be able to, I'd be pretty safe if I went for a mass upgrade, but I will be safe. I will buy each economy individually so I can decide if I want it or not. And once again, I'll speed through those and bring you back once I've finished. That brings me to the end of this video. So the game continues. Keep an eye out for the next video in this series. It will be covering day 4 of this game, and in it we'll see how iippabella responds to my retaking of these stars.